Hello everybody. We're going to be doing a screencast looking at the map of Europe and how it changed in World War I and how it shows the tide of the war. So you click on the assignment if you want to do it by yourself later on and practice it, and hit preview, and you're going to click on the map, and this will give us kind of a look at Europe. So this is Europe as before the war, and you have the various countries: Russia, Austria-Hungary, Serbia, Germany, Belgium, France, and England, and these are the major players. Italy is also involved. They are aligned with Austria-Hungary and Germany, but they split and they join the Allies. So let's look at 1914. So you have the Allied powers and the neutrals. Italy is a neutral at this time. They've left Austria-Hungary, and then you have the Entente: Russia, England, United Kingdom, and you have France. You then have, as the central powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary. Later on, Turkey is going to join them. They'd be down here in the middle, toward the Middle East. So you have some battles that take place. You have Ypres, which some don't call it Ypres. It's Ypres, and then the Battle of the Marne. The Battle of the Marne was real possibility for the Germans to end the war in 1914 at the Marne River. Both these battles were fought along the Marne River. The French mobilized and used taxis. This is the first time that you have a technology being used, and they used taxis and cars to ferry troops from all over France into Paris itself, and they fortified this area, and they held back the Germans in a very, very costly battle that could have ended the war. If France was knocked out, England is separated by water, and they would have to take back, and it would be very difficult. And it would basically then be Austria-Hungary going against Germany, against Russia, and that would have been very easy for them to handle. So the Battle of the Marne is a key battle. You have battles in the Eastern Front, and you notice that Russia, although they declare war, they mobilize to go against Austria-Hungary. It's Germany they take on. And Germany wins these battles. They're pretty decisive wins for the Germans. 1915, the war has now settled into a stalemate. So let's look at 1915. And if you see it's basically staying the same if we have both clicked. So you have Ypres, the second battle. And again, this is a battle to try to get to Paris, crossing the Marne and then trying to swing into Paris. You have a battle, it's called Przemyśl, and this is a battle, again, it's a battle between Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Russia. So the Germans go to aid the Austrian-Hungarians, and the Russians are not faring very well in World War II. One thing that has changed is that Italy has joined in on the side of the Allies. So you now have fighting in Austria around here with Austria-Hungary. Let's look at 1916. You have the Battle of the Somme. We've been talking so much about this. And this is where 1.5 million soldiers die in a period in 1916 over the year. You also have the battle at Verdun, which is a battle that's typified by artillery, dugouts, trenches, and horror. My great uncle was in France, and he fought in that battle. On the Eastern Front, kind of quiet. Russia has been neutralized in many ways, and look at the front line. It's really, Germany's really taking over a lot of Russia. So Russia is not doing well in the war. It's starting to cause real problems within Russia. And Russia is on the brink of breaking. 1917, you have a battle at Riga, and this really hurts Russia. It takes away their access to a port. They're losing battles left and right. You have a battle here that's draining forces from Austria-Hungary against Russia. You see, it's only the Germans who are making progress. Then you have Passchendaele, which is another bloody battle fought between the Allies. But the lines haven't changed very much, other than that the front line is still consistent. It's, they can't cross the Marne really well or approach Paris. The stalemate is still going on, and America is about to enter the war, or has entered the war, by late 1917 and 1918. In 1918, look what happened. Germany takes over all this territory, gets all this territory. Austria and Hungary have knocked out Russia. Russia is out of the war. They surrender at the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, and they are in absolute political disarray. The war is extremely unpopular, and you have revolution brewing in Russia. The front line here, though, Americans have joined in and are replacing it, and you have the battle at Amiens and the second battle of the Somme, and look what happens to the front line. The front line is pushed back. The Germans are being pushed back, and now they have 3 armies against 1, and they are worn out, and this leads them to ask for an armistice, for a cessation. So the war ends, and obviously they lose a lot of this territory. That's part of the treaty. They get this. These are now going to form independent nations. Austria and Hungary is split up into very totally different pieces. The Allies win the war in 1918 basically because the Germans, they try one last push at the Somme and at Amiens, and they're thrown back. And they just can no longer sustain the casualties, and they are forced to sign an armistice, which is very unfavorable to them, and sows the seed for World War II. No one will enter into World War II with clean hands. World War I is really the beginning of World War II and of the extremism that takes place in Germany. So, how does this map show the effect of trench warfare? Well, it shows huge changes on the Eastern Front. The trench warfare existed mostly on the Western Front. The Eastern Front was more of a mobile battle. Does it show how few battles were fought in Russia territory? Does it show, again, the idea of trench warfare? Nothing to do with trench warfare. Does it show about the Italian Front? You see very little change. But here, the map shows how little the Western Front moved in 4 years, in a period where about 20 million casualties take place. I'm sorry, about 15 million casualties take place. A horrible, horrible war. Trench warfare was guaranteeing stalemate. That's all for today. Have a great rougher day.